Hello everyone, in this video we will see storage class specifiers in C program. So now what is storage class specifiers in a C program? Now it is a very important topic in C program. Now this storage class specifier which decides the scope of the variables, and also it decides visibility of the variable or a function, and also it decides a lifetime of the variable. Okay, so it decides the scope, visibility and lifetime of the variable. Now this scope, visibility and lifetime, which are the major features of the variables, and these features can be modified by using storage class specifiers. Okay, so the main usage of storage class specifier is to modify the scope, visibility and lifetime of the variable. So in C program there are two types of storage class specifiers. Okay, one is static and another one is external. Okay, so there are two types of storage class specifier, one is static and external. So we'll see each one in detail and we'll try to understand with example. So let me explain static storage class specifier. Okay, so let me open our online compiler. Okay, so what I will do here is I will create a function. Okay, void my function. Okay, so I'll create a function. My main task is to call this function inside my main file. Okay, in my int main. Okay, I will call this function 4 times. The main application of this program is to count how many times this my function is called inside int main. So I'll create one counter here, count equals to 0, and whenever this function is called I will do count equal to count plus 1. I will increment the counter and at the end I will print the count, printf the my function is called %d times. Okay, here I will type count. Okay, so what's happening here? So I have created a function void my function. Inside that I am using a counter. So whenever what I want is whenever this function is called, this counter should increase. Since I have called this function 4 times, so counter should increase 4 times. So before that let me declare prototype here. Okay, okay, so let me run this program. Here I'll give /n. Let me run again. So okay, so now here you can see, so it is calling only 1 times. Okay, so let us understand what is happening here. So when my function is called, so it is executes this function, so it goes inside here, and here we are declaring one local variable count equals to 0. Next it increments the counter equal to count plus 1, and we are printing the counter, so count will become 1 and prints the counter. When the execution, when it comes out of this loop, this local variable dies off. So whenever the next times this function call happens and it enters the counter, this function, again counter is initialized it to 0, and again count will become 1, and again 1 will be printed. Now the main reason is because this variable is local to this function. So I can solve this issue by declaring this variable globally. Okay, so if I declare this function globally, when I run this program, so you can see I can print the count as 1 2 3 4. So since I have called this function 4 times, it is printing 4 times. But if you have a requirement that you want this variable to be inside, or its scope should be inside this function. Okay, so now since it is declared globally, any function or any file in the project can modify this variable, but I don't want to this. I want it should be inside, it's private to this function. Okay. So how can I achieve this? Now to achieve this, I can achieve this by using our storage class specifier is static. That is static. Now this function, sorry, this variable is global to the program, but it is scope is private to this particular function. So now when I run this program, so it will give the same result. So this is the advantage of storage class specifier static. Okay, so now let us understand this in detail by creating a multiple files. How the static variable behaves when we use a multiple files. Now we have used in a single file, that is in main.c. We'll create a multiple file and we'll check the use case of this static storage class as specifier. Now let us consider another use case of our storage class specifier static. So in previous case we saw in a single file how we can manage the usage or a scope of the variable inside a particular function. Now imagine you have a different files. You have a project where different people are working on a different file, and you want some of the variables should not modified by any of your other colleagues. Now in that case, how can we use our static storage class specifier? So that is, imagine I have a variable, say int my private data. So okay, I have this variable and I want this private variable or private data should be local, or the scope should be inside only this main.c. I don't want any other file should modify this private data. So what I will do, let me assign my private data equals to 100. Let me print this value, printf, sorry, my private data value is %d/n. okay, here my private data. Okay, so let me run this and we'll check. Okay, so it is printing my private data value is 100, and I told this variable should be, its scope should be inside this file main.c. I don't want any other file should modify this variable. So now I'll create one more file. I'll name this as file 1.c. okay, so here I'll create one function, void my function. Okay, so I've created this function and I'll try to modify that variable my private data equals to 700 here. Okay, so now I told this variable should be, its scope should be only inside this main.c. I don't want any other people to modify this variable, but here I am trying to modify this value, or modify the value of this my private data variable. So now before to run this program, I should declare a prototype here. Okay, then I will call this function here. Okay, and I will printf. I will do printf. We'll check the value after the modifying. So let me call the same line here. Okay, so now if I run, I might get an error. Now it shows that this my private data variable is not declared. Okay, it is declared here. Again, I can't declare directly like this. Okay, because it is already declared. So what I can do is I can use one more our storage class specifier as extern. I can use this storage class specifier. So extern. Okay, what it will do is when I declare any variable like this, so it thinks that it is declared in somewhere else. Okay, so let me run this program. Now you can see I have modified my private variable data or a private data inside another file. So it is printing the private value data value is 700, but actually I don't want it to modify. Here I can make use of static variable. So if I use this as static, then the scope of this private data, my private data, will be only inside main.c. This file1.c cannot use this variable. So now if I run this, it gives the error undefined reference to my private data. Now this is one more usage of our static storage class specifier. Because when you have a big project and there are many people working on a same project, and if you don't want some other people to modify some variables, then you can declare that particular variable as a static. So I hope you understand how to use a storage class specifier static. In our next video we'll see the another storage class specifier extern.